It's official. Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California has been sold by NASCAR to an unknown real estate developer. What does this mean for the future of NASCAR racing in Southern California and the site of Auto Club Speedway? We'll break it all down today on Shifting Gears. I'm Alan Bailey, and before we go any further, make sure that you mash that subscribe button so that you can keep up to date on the latest motorsports news, and make sure that you also log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com for the latest motorsports news. ARN, the Motorsports Authority. Gearheads, the time that we thought was coming is officially here. Multiple sources have confirmed and reported today that NASCAR has sold the Auto Club Speedway land. Now, what does this mean for the track? Is the track closing? Is the whole thing going to be bulldozed after this weekend's NASCAR Cup race? No. Let me be perfectly clear. The entire land has not been sold. Sorry to disappoint some of you environmentalists. The track will remain in some form, but the 2-mile track is officially dead. We know that this is the case, so let's look at some new information that has come out in the recent days. First off, we found out from court documents that were filed with San Bernardino County that the track is no longer going to be converted into a half-mile track, as originally reported way back in early 2020. Instead, we found out that it's going to be converted into a 0.67-mile track. That's right. It's a little over a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, or 2/3 of a mile, if you will. I actually like this idea. These schematics were released with court documents, and as you can see, there is significantly reduced grandstand seating. We also found out from those court documents that there is officially a seating reduction happening at the track. We've seen this construction happen over the course of the last couple of years, and really we've been kind of keeping an eye on it, thinking that they were just going to reduce the sides in order to accommodate the track's new diameter, but instead we found out that they will essentially demo a majority of the stands, and it appears that they're going to demo the current suites that are currently sitting behind pit road overlooking the track. So instead we got this information from that same county filing for construction permits. The next gen in California projects involves the replacement of the existing 2-mile track of the California Speedway with a 0.67-mile short track, and the reduction of seating capacity to a maximum capacity of 50,000 persons with approximately 35,000 grandstand seatings. Yikes, that's pretty darn bad for a track that at one point held over 122,000 people. That's over a 50% reduction in the seating capacity. So my worries about the actual, parking lot kind of just went out the window. This sucks. I mean, it really does, but this is NASCAR's decision moving forward. You look at the track, it is the oldest surface in all of NASCAR. It was last paved way back in 1996. That's almost 30 years without a repave on this surface. And as you can see from some of the footage, there is a lot of holding it together patchwork that's been done. The back straightaway has been repaved multiple times to get rid of the bumpiness that we see going down the back straightaway, but at the same time, last year, the race at Auto Club Speedway was praised as one of the best races on the NASCAR calendar, and I have to agree. The race that I saw in person in 2022, that we all saw in 2022, was probably the best, if not one of the best races in all of NASCAR last season, and it's pretty much been the case like that for the last 10 years, give or take. But it took about 10 to 15 years for Auto Club Speedway to really groove in. So there are some who are fighting this, saying, no, we should just keep it a 2-mile track and we should just repave the thing and be done with it. That's not really a good idea. Anybody who remembers racing out there in the early 90s will tell you it was pretty much not great for NASCAR. IndyCar put on a heck of a show, and we saw other sport cars and other things racing out there, especially on the road course inside the track, but The 2-mile track took about over 10 years to actually come in for NASCAR for the track to wear. In the early 90s, the track was essentially a fuel mileage race, and we saw long stretches of green flag. This was well before stage breaks. We saw long stretches of green flag racing, and honestly, if a driver won the race by less than 10 seconds, it was considered to be a close race. I don't want to go back to that personally. The racing that we see out at Auto Club Speedway now is some of the best racing you'll see in all of NASCAR. The current next-gen car lends itself perfectly to the racing on the 2-mile track, as we see Chase Elliott get into the fence, but honestly, we can't replicate this surface, and more specifically, NASCAR has debt that it's trying to pay down from its acquisition of the management service that actually manages NASCAR tracks when they purchased it a few years ago. They're trying to pay down that debt, and frankly, they're trying to up the amenities at Auto Club Speedway. NASCAR realizes that it's 2023 and that when you go to sporting events, fans want more amenities. They want wider seats. They want things like cup holders. They want Wi-Fi. That's a big one that NASCAR is currently still struggling with. But they also want more amenities, more things to do at the racetrack. And honestly, NASCAR has said that the $100 million plus that they're receiving for part of the land out at Auto Club Speedway is going back into investing into upgrading the track. Not just making a new garage area, but also new bathrooms, new concession stands, new amenities around the racetrack in general. But they're also reportedly going to be rebuilding things like media centers, also rooms for and suites and things. They're going to redo all of that essentially out at Auto Club Speedway, which I will tell you desperately needs to get done. This is one of the oldest tracks on the circuit that hasn't seen a major update in years, generations at this point. And honestly, it needs help. The track was originally built and developed for Indy cars for fields of no more than 30 cars, more like 20 to 25, and the garage area is extraordinarily cramped, which is utterly ridiculous for a 2-mile track in 2023. Everything needs to get redone at that track because it hasn't been done since it was built in the mid-90s. And honestly, times have changed, things have changed. It is time to bring this speedway into the 21st century at this point. I'm all for changing all of that. I hate that we have to lose the 2-mile track in order to accommodate this track, but and these changes, but at the same time, I recognize that it is time to get with the times. Yeah, Auto Club Speedway's final 2-mile race is literally a few days away here. We're going out to the track Saturday and Sunday, weather permitting, but I'm very much disappointed that we're losing the 2-mile track, but at the same time, I personally am extremely excited about the fact that we are getting a brand new facility. I'm excited for the concept of a high-banked Martinsville, more like a Bristol-Martinsville hybrid. I think that that is absolutely the way to go for NASCAR. An early word out of NASCAR is that if things go well with this track conversion, at some point down the road, this racetrack could actually host the season finale championship race at some point. And yes, a lot of people are saying, well, it's 50 miles from downtown Los Angeles. How many fans are really going to flock out to this race? Well, honestly, at its peak, it was selling out at 122,000 plus. So yes, I do think that 50,000 people will easily get out to the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California. Honestly, if the racetrack is a dud, I think you're going to get 60 to 70,000 trying to show up to this race. I don't think that that's a hard ticket to sell at all, because as somebody who works at a speedway in San Bernardino, California, that is about 15 miles from Fontana, California and the Auto Club Speedway, we have an immensely strong NASCAR and motorsports fan base in San Bernardino County outside of Los Angeles. This is where all the NASCAR fans live. They don't so much live in the cities anymore, they live in the outskirts of the city. It's frankly cheaper to live not in the city. I don't live in Los Angeles in the city limits. I live in a city that's in the outskirts, that is in San Bernardino County. But if you tell people you live in San Bernardino County, a lot of people look at you like, where in the world is that? But if you say, oh, I live in Los Angeles, people know exactly where you live. So I think that this is an actually really good idea. A lot of people have questioned the viability of having a track in Fontana 50 plus miles out of Los Angeles. I strongly disagree, because California, because Southern California is so densely populated, one of the most densely populated states in the country. I think that you're always going to have NASCAR fans in this area. People have been coming to this race for 25 plus years, and I think that they will continue to come to this racetrack for generations to come. I really do. I think that this is NASCAR's permanent hold on the Southern California market. And yes, NASCAR executives were quoted a few weeks ago saying, well, we're really not sure about the viability of the actual track itself. We're really not 100% sure. We're going to have to wait and see about the Los Angeles market. That was in reference to the Los Angeles Clash, but more specifically, the LA Coliseum. It's unknown if the LA Coliseum is going to be hosting the LA Clash in 2024. At this point, it's 100% undetermined. NASCAR puts millions of dollars into that event every year, having to build out the racetrack, and NASCAR doesn't really like building racetracks every single year. They're looking for something a little bit more permanent, something like the Chicago Street Course that just requires them to physically put up barriers, and in the LA Coliseum case, not bring in tons of dirt in order to build the track up physically feet into the air like they do at the LA Coliseum. So I do think that this is a great move for NASCAR to build a permanent hold in Fontana, California. Yes, the parking lot is going to be smaller with warehouses going into that area. That area is largely industrial. It's the site of an old World War II military base, and there is a steel mill on the south side that is still operational. There was a steel mill on site at the current Auto Club Speedway's location, and just north of the Speedway currently is a literal scrapyard. So this is not prime real estate. Yes, there is a lot of homes in the area, and people are frankly worried about believe it or not, they're actually pushing back against this change. They prefer to keep the 2-mile track because they like the fact that NASCAR is there. They like the fact that this racetrack only holds a couple of events a year, realistically, that bring in 100,000 plus. Essentially, just one bad weekend of the year, or a couple, for the people in Fontana, California. Whereas building the warehouses with the conversion of Auto Club from its current 2-mile to its 0.67 mile configuration will bring in a lot of big rig traffic and a lot of more traffic from that. So a lot of people have actually pushed against the 2-mile conversion from the 2-mile to the smaller racetrack, but I don't think that that is something that has any merit. I think that ultimately politicians and the powers that be are going to win over on this. Everything has essentially already been approved, and the deal is already done according to multiple media reports. So I do think that this is already done. It's something that we, unfortunately, as race fans, are going to have to deal with. I'm deeply saddened by this, but ultimately I'm just excited that NASCAR will continue to race in essentially my backyard for hopefully decades to come. This does mean that we will not see a race in 2024, and maybe even not in 2025, as NASCAR is still finalizing construction plans, getting quotes, getting everything lined up in order to get this project underway. Is it possible that we could see the 2-mile track in 2024? I highly doubt it. I think that this project is going to break ground sometime around the summer once the weather has cleared up. A lot of people were asking, are we going to see a ceremony of some kind after the race on Sunday? Not 100% sure on that, but we will be live from the Auto Club Speedway after the NASCAR Cup Series race this Sunday, February 26th, 2023. So make sure that you log on to AmericanRacingNetwork.com, that you check out YouTube.com/Hey Alan Bailey, because we will be live from pit road at the Auto Club Speedway, taking your questions, I should say, your comments live on the air. Yes, we will have multiple guests on the show, including Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, updating us on his health and what his plans for 2023 are once he's medically cleared, and what the holdup is with his medical clearance. We'll talk to Tyler Rennick about everything out at Auto Club Speedway, Denny Hamlin with his latest contract negotiations with Joe Gibbs Racing and what's happening out at Auto Club Speedway, and a whole lot more. We'll also potentially have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the program as well. Your 2023 Daytona 500 champ will be on the program as well. But a lot of people are saying that it's going to be a very interesting final race out there. A lot of these drivers really want to win the final race at the 2-mile Auto Club Speedway. Let me know what you think about the conversion down below in the comments. Do you like what NASCAR has planned and what the city has planned for the area, essentially turning it into a warehouse district with a racetrack in the middle of it? Or do you simply hate it and wish the track would go away altogether? Those are realistically your two options, because there is no keeping the 2-mile track, unfortunately. Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure that you keep up with me on social media at Hey Alan Bailey, because we will be in Fontana all weekend long running around the track and the property. So make sure that you hit me up on social medias for a meetup later on Sunday, potentially, if the weather holds out, and keep an eye on the track, because we could be seeing a Saturday night NASCAR Xfinity race, potentially, if the weather cooperates. Thank you so much for watching. For Shifting Gears, I'm Alan Bailey. We'll see you at the track.